Hello, YouTube universe. All right, so today I'm going to talk to you about how to deepen your experience with your shamanic journeys. And so I suppose we should do some talking about what shamanic journeys are. We're also going to be talking about what is the difference between a shamanic journey, astral traveling, out of body experiences. And I'm going to be sharing with you the one chemical that is created in your brain pan, which actually helps all of these things happen. Without this chemical, in my experience, it's you can't have this. You can't have real shamanic journeys. You can't escape your physical body, astral traveling, those kinds of things. So we'll be talking about all that stuff. So, what is a shamanic journey? First I got to say that there is a lot of misunderstanding about what shamanism is. Um, I recently got somebody. I think somebody left a comment on one of my channels about. I recently got too deep into shamanism and I'm all bent out of shape or something like that. And based on that, what it sounds like this person is saying is that they took a lot of hallucinogens. And so, what has happened in modern times is that the word shamanism has become associated with ingesting hallucinogens. So, let me just tell you that's not what the word means. Shamanism does not mean that. It has never meant that. People have chosen to put that meaning onto it, but that's not what it means. Shamanism, the word shamanism, in fact, isn't even a word. It doesn't exist. It's a made up word that's been used by Westerners for the past 300 years. But it's not even a real word. The term shaman is a Siberian Mongolian word which means priest or priestess. And a shaman is a priest or priestess of their indigenous religion, which is called Tengerism. Tenger means the sky father. It's the blue sky. So somebody who follows the sky father, which is their religion, a priest or a priestess of that religion is called a shaman. Shamanism is a word that was created by Westerners. It was actually created by Christian missionaries in the 1700s who went into Siberia and Mongolia in order to do their Christianizing, and they ran into the indigenous priests and priestesses of that religion, and they used drums. They use frame drums, bum, 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 to put themselves into a shamanic trance in order to travel to the three worlds. They also had, by the way, and still do, they also had a belief in the 9 worlds of the world tree, exactly like my ancestors. My ancestors believed that the universe is made up of 9 worlds of the world tree. So this is shamanism. And what has happened now is that in order to force themselves to have an experience, people use all kinds of external chemicals to force their brain and their body to release DMT, which then is what creates the experience. So that's what this individual meant. So if you're one of those people and that's what you think the word shamanism means, let me just educate you on that, because the actual shamans don't use, like the shamans in Siberia, they don't use hallucinogens or any external method. They just use the drum. They just use the beat of the drum. And I've got a friend out here that I've drummed with. I was teaching my drum class for a while, and I'll be teaching it again. But this guy has been doing a lot of studying on the timing of the what we consider to be shamanic drumming, what we consider Native American drumming. That beat, bum 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 bum, that frequency at that tempo puts the brain in a different brainwave pattern, which allows people to have a shamanic journey. That's why people use drums for shamanic journeys. So I just wanted to educate you a little bit on that. Right now I want to change the links that are up here. Let me get to, this is what I want. Boom. All right. Those are the links that I want for today. So that is what shamanism is. So what is a shamanic journey? Technically speaking, a shamanic journey is a journey to one of the three worlds. Now we're talking about your basic neo-shamanism. A journey to one of the three worlds, the lower world, the middle world, and the upper world. And you use drum frequencies to put you in that state so that you can travel to those three worlds. That's all it is. It's very easy for anybody to do. All you got to do is just go get a frame drum. You know, they're easy to get, and anybody can play that bum 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 bum. Anybody can do that. You don't have to do anything special. And if you do that and get used to it, you'll be able to entrain your brain to be able to go there and have those experiences. But it's not necessary. You don't have to use a drum. A drum is just a tool. But you can have this experience whenever you want if you have this ability. Let me be clear, there are some people who don't naturally have this ability. Some people do naturally have it, and some people can learn to have it. But, you know, if you're not one of those people that can easily go into shamanic trance, don't worry about it. In my experience, there is a method that I teach, which is a very powerful method, and it's a foolproof method to get yourself into that shamanic state, and it is the Hool breath. I think you can pretty much go anywhere, any search engine, if you type it in exactly that way. It should come up. And that is the meditative practice that I teach, and it's free to anybody. I encourage anybody to practice that. In my experience, it's the most healing, the most grounding, and you know, it's the most direct way to get into a shamanic state of mind, to be able to take a shamanic journey. If I were to do it right now, it would be hard for me to function. There's a special breath that you use, which I teach on how to do that, and I've learned that is a secret. That's a secret way to immediately put yourself into a shamanic state. So you can go to that video. You can look it up. I don't even have to tell you. Just type that in and go look it up. Start practicing it. That's one of those practices that if you practice it every day, like if you were to practice it, say, a half an hour every day for the rest of your life, it would give you everything. And you would definitely have shamanic journey experiences. It is the the breath of the Earth Mother. It is the frequency of the earth. And when you chant it, sorry, when you chant that breath in the way that I teach how to do it, then what ends up happening is that everything, your body begins to change. Let me just take a sip of my kombucha. Your body begins to change, your cells begin to change. Without a doubt, the vibrations in your brain begin to change. You also begin to detox physically. You know, one of the frustrating things about, you know, as I said, there's a lot of misconception about what it is to be a shaman. There's a lot of people out there screwing themselves up and toxifying their bodies in the attempt to have shamanic experiences. And while they're able to give themselves experiences, they're making it harder and harder. So what ends up happening is that each time that you force your body to have an experience, you crack your aura open through these external methods, then what ends up happening is that each time you want to get into that shamanic state, it becomes harder and harder. And as time goes on, you actually become more and more dense physically and less connected to the astral plane. And so you end up working against yourself. And it's completely unnecessary to do that. So anyway, we're going to be talking about those kinds of things. Feel free to ask questions about anything you want, but preferably keeping it to shamanism. So let's talk about what happens when you take a shamanic journey to one of the three worlds. As it so happens, you have three energy centers in the body, which are actually energy cauldrons. They're cauldrons for life force energy. You know what a cauldron is? It's a big, like, boiling pot, and it's used. The symbol is taking the impurities out of gold. You get pure gold, and so you put it in a cauldron. So you have one in your navel center, you have one in your heart center, and you have one in your third eye. And the reason why all energy practices like yoga, tai chi, qigong focus on the navel center is because the navel center is the most important one for overall energy work. So that's why there are some energy practices that all they focus on is what's called the dantian. You actually got three dantians, three cauldrons. But if you hear somebody talk about the dantian, like there's only one, it means that they solely focus on the navel center, which is actually quite a smart thing to do, because the navel center, when you're working with life force energy, it will take the pure life force energy and it will filter it through your navel center and it will purify it. And then the navel center will send energy wherever it's needed. And so all you really have to do is spend your whole life working on that lower dantian, that lower cauldron in your navel center. All those phrases, contemplating your navel, and that's used in a derogatory way, but that's exactly what you're doing. You're putting your energy into your navel center. So we've got a couple of links here for you. Immortal.thunderwizard.com. I'll give some more information on that later, but feel free to go check that out. That is the latest package I've put together to help in this, especially in this subject we're talking about today. So I got off track here. Let's talk about the three dantian. So you have your navel center, your heart center, and your third eye. When you hear about shamans who travel to the three worlds, they're talking about this. Here's something you need to know. There is nothing that isn't you. There is nothing outside of you. It's okay if you have that experience. That is one of the reasons we incarnate. We incarnate into these human avatars, and we have this brain, which is kind of like a computer, and we have our intellect, which is like the software in the computer. And then we have our soul. Our soul resides here in the middle dantian, in the middle cauldron. But the soul is infinite. And so the soul needs to have an interface between itself, which is infinity, and three-dimensional limited reality. And so we incarnate in these avatars so that then we can use this computer to interface with three-dimensional reality and be able to understand it. Without the brain, the soul has a completely different experience. It sees there's no such thing as time. There's no such thing as place. There's I have higher beings that work with me, and the way that they interact with me, it's very clear to me that they don't operate on linear time, because there will be things that'll happen in their communication with me that will be too conveniently perfect. And I won't get into it, but it dawns on me, it's like The only way that that could have happened is if that entity is in multiple time streams at once, to be able to predict how to communicate and leave things, and all that kind of stuff. So that's how the soul functions, but we don't. We operate in linear time. We experience time as past, present, and future, which it's not. And if you know anything about the law of weird, which I talk about, you can go type this into my channel. While I'm on the subject, the best way to make use of my channel, if you're new, is go to my channel page. What you can do for that is on YouTube, you can type in Thunder Wizard. My YouTube channel page will come up. Go onto that channel page, and then not on the top bar, but below that, you'll see the menu, and there'll be like, videos, about, and then next to it, there will be a little magnifying glass. Click on the magnifying glass and a new search bar will come up. Then you can type in any word you want and see all of my videos concerning that, because people will say, will you talk about this? Will you talk about that? And it's something I've talked about for hours. Had they actually gone and searched for it on my channel, they would have been able to see that without having to ask me, will you make a video about? I'm okay with you asking me that, because sometimes it gives me good ideas, but you know how I feel about this. So you can type in weird and find out about how time really works according to the law of weird. All right, so we need all this apparatus in order to be able to experience three-dimensional reality. So when you go on a shamanic journey to one of the three worlds, guess where you're going? To one of your three centers. Bear in mind that everything is you. When you look up at night into the infinity of space and you look into the stars, you're looking inside yourself. You're not looking outside of yourself. That is the illusion of this avatar three-dimensional video game that we call human life. But you're actually looking inside yourself. So when you take a shamanic journey to the lower world or the upper world or the middle world, you are traveling to the different centers within you. That's what all these centers are. Okay? They're different vibrations within you. You go to the underworld to get information. Now, this information in the underworld is your unconscious mind. It's an incredibly valuable resource. You don't necessarily go there and expect that this is something that's happened in the external world. You go there to find out about yourself. And it's one of the most valuable things that you can ever do. Like, it would be easy for somebody to say, oh, well, that was just, you were just in your unconscious. No, it's incredibly valuable. Even if your experience in the lower world is an illusory one, even if it's an illusion, that's very good information. One of the dangers of using external methods to force yourself to have a vision or an experience is that you will go to your lower self. Guaranteed, 99% of the time, that's what's happening. Somebody's going to an ayahuasca ceremony or something like that. That's where you're going. You're going to your lower self. If your lower self is dominated by your fears, your delusions, your illusions, your fantasies, that's what you're going to experience. That can be extremely valuable if you are aware of that, because then when you come back to normal consciousness, then you decode what all that stuff meant, and you'll find out a lot about yourself. It's very, very powerful. I do this as often as I can. Whenever I'm waking up, like when I sleep and I wake up in the morning, I'll usually wake up and then I'll go back to sleep. When I'm in that state in between sleep and wakefulness, where you're able to go back into the dream but stay conscious, I go back and I analyze, if I'm talking to a person, I'll analyze, who is that person? What does that person represent? And when I come out of that semi-dream state, I will then spend time meditating as I'm lying in bed waiting to wake up, analyzing myself and what all this means. And I say, oh, so what that really means is that I'm going through an issue involving this. It's incredibly, incredibly valuable as long as you understand what it means. When you travel to the middle center, you're traveling to your soul, the essence. So you're made up of three, you're a community. You're not one person in a body. You're made up of a community. And the community is you've got these three centers that are inhabited by different energies. The lower self is your unconscious and your subconscious mind, what my ancestors called the dwarves. The dwarves live in the lower center. In the middle part is where your soul resides. So the true, your essence, even though I've made up of these three, parts, the identity of this whole thing is my soul. My soul is the king of all of it and is the focus of all of it. So you're going to visit your true essence, your true infinite essence. When you travel to the upper world, you are traveling to your higher self. Now, your higher self is another entity that sort of sits around here. Now, all of these three entities are fused into one. You're one person. And this is, by the way, this is where the Trinity came from. In case you want to know where Christians came up with God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost, it came from this. That is not in the Bible. That is not in the New Testament. The New Testament and the Old Testament nowhere teaches about the Trinity. That was something that was imposed upon Christianity by our European ancestors because it was absolutely ingrained in their indigenous religion. So these three essences together form one person because they're all working together and they're all focused on the soul. The lower self and the higher self are all focused on the experience of the soul. When somebody needs soul retrieval, what that means is that the soul is not aligned with the other two centers. And when that happens, you have chaos. The upper center just sits back and watches and says, you let me know when you want to get back right with yourself, and I'll just sit here and I'll read the paper. Do people still read the paper? I'll sit here and look at my texts. So that's what the upper self does when you're disconnected on all three levels. The lower self acts like a dog that hasn't been trained. It runs around and tears up the furniture and pees on everything and just causes all kinds of problems and barks at the neighbors and bites the school kids as it walks by. That's your lower self, because unless it is being governed by the higher self, the lower self will create all kinds of chaos. And then you get trapped in your fear and your illusion and your delusions. So that's how all three of these centers work together. So when you're taking a shamanic journey to the upper, middle, and lower worlds, that's where you're going. And that's why having that information is really important. Let me continue to say something else. There's a lot of people. I can't tell you how many people I've run into, I've talked to, who talk about having shamanic journeys, and I can tell by listening to them that their shamanic journeys have no value because there's no practical application of that experience in their everyday life. Let me make a general statement about spirituality. I don't care how many spiritual experiences you have, out-of-body experiences. I don't care how deep and intense and crazy they are, whether it's done naturally or externally or through meditation. If any of those experiences are not directly applicable to making your life better, they're worthless. They're nonsense. Complete nonsense. A true shamanic journey will always have valuable information for you to apply in your life that will make your life better. If you get information in a shamanic journey, that information is only valuable to the extent that you can verify it in three-dimensional reality. So if you are into shamanic journeys because you want to escape this world, you want to escape this matrix, you want to escape your pain, I can guarantee you what will happen is you will get trapped in your own delusions. If your shamanic journeys, your dreams, your visions take you further and further away from your ability to live your life, you are trapped in your delusions. The purpose of shamanic journey is one. There is one purpose for a shamanic journey, and that is to bring information that helps you and other people live their lives better. So let me give you a brief history of how our species learned how to shamanic journey. And I think there's still a tribe in Alaska who remember this. And it's interesting because somebody, I can't remember where I read it or whatever, but somebody was interviewing an Alaskan Native American, and they started talking about shamanic journeys. And they said originally human beings didn't eat animal flesh. They dug around in the ground for roots and tubers. And then they started hunting animals. But they found that when they would hunt an animal and kill it, that then the spirit of that animal would potentially bother them or curse them. And so the need for shamans arose, because shamans would then have to create a balance so that that spirit of that animal would not bother the humans for eating it. This is why, we see in ancient societies that, when they hunt an animal, first they get permission from whatever spirits or whatever, and then, when they're killing the animal, they apologize and say, I'm sorry, but I have to feed my family, and blah, blah, blah. And this is where shamans came from. They served a practical purpose to keep three-dimensional reality going. Now, it started to expand from that, because then what ended up happening was that these shamans were able to communicate with the spirit of animals, and they needed to know where the animals were so that they could hunt them, so they would survive, because they needed clothes, they needed food, all that stuff. And so the shaman would go into trance to find where the animals were, and they knew how to find the spirit of the elk, or spirit of the deer, or spirit of fish, and you could communicate with the spirit of, let's say, elk, and then you'd be able to find out where they were. And then by doing that, you would be able to get and hunt those animals whose spirits had agreed to allow themselves to be eaten and all that kind of stuff. This is where shamanism comes from. Shamanism comes from shamanic journeys, is a science that is dedicated to preserving three-dimensional human life. It means it has to have a practical solution to your everyday survival. If you go on a shamanic journey and you have a vision and you come back with information that has no practical value to your life, it is your delusion. It is not a shamanic journey. It didn't really happen. At best, you had an experience in your own unconscious fantasies and whatever else. So when people come back, I get a lot of people who contact me. I've been to the other dimension, and there are blue-faced people with gills in their neck, and they live on the bit. And I'm like, okay, and what am I supposed to do with that? Well, it's real. It exists. Great. What am I supposed to do with that? How does that help me live my life? This is pure escapism. I don't know if blue-skinned people with gills exist on another plane. That's great. If they don't have some information for me to help me and help others, it's pure masturbation. Nothing short of that. So if you're into this because you're trying to escape your pain and live in another reality, and believe me, I understand that feeling, that is not the purpose of shamanism, and you're more than likely just deluding yourself. Okay? You're just having fun. It's a video game that has no real function in this world. Okay, so as we go further, I'll talk about the importance of the chemicals that are released in the brain when you stimulate the pineal and the pituitary gland, and the role that has in actually helping you to evolve to the next level. Before I do that, I'll go ahead and answer some questions. You're free to ask any questions you want. I'm only interested in your questions. I do not care about your thoughts, your feelings, or your opinions. Sorry, nothing personal. I just want to answer people's questions. So I'm going to bypass. Please try not to say anything other than a question so that I won't miss people's questions. That's the whole idea. Alekia Patra, question. Will the Fehu ritual work even if I have very less capital to invest? What do you mean? What does that mean? Will the Fehu ritual work? I just did a recent video about how to earn $100,000, how to manifest, $100,000 in 90 days. I've got another video out there if you go looking for it on my channel, how to manifest $10,000 in 9 days. So, and it uses the Fehu rune. So, will the Fehu ritual work even if I have very less capital to invest? I don't know what you're talking about. What does investing capital have to do with anything? I don't understand the question. The ritual is designed to give you money. It's not about, you have to invest it. I don't get the question. Can I earn $100,000 in 3 months? I mean, I don't know what you're asking. The video is very clear. That's what I'm creating for you to do. I don't understand your question. Mass Juicy. So, Mass Juicy, please write the word question so that I can see it. Because when there's a lot of people, I have to stream past big, paragraphs of people talking about their opinion. And so I can't tell if you're asking me a question here. I do see that you have a question. It says, if you could answer my question, it'd be great. How do you have a shamanic journey and be safe from negative energy? Why are you worried about negative energy? I just got through telling you, shamanic journeys are journeys within yourself. So if you run into negative energy, guess where that negative energy resides? Within you. It's only negative energy if you can't embrace it. So if you have unresolved feelings, unresolved pain, fear, anxiety, self-hatred, unforgiveness, resentment, anger, if you have unresolved things in your unconscious, they're going to appear as demons and negative energy. I have on the thunderwizard.com shamanism course, I believe I teach you how to communicate with your poverty, to communicate with your illness, to communicate with anything. And they will appear, when you communicate them in a shamanic meditation, they will appear as evil, horrible things. And you ask them, what is it that you want from me? And then you'll find out that there's something that your lower self wants that is actually helpful that you're not giving to yourself. And so it gets angry. So you don't need to protect yourself from yourself. You're operating from the assumption that a shamanic journey is outside of you. As I've said, the shamanic journey is inside of you. Everything is you. As long as you understand that, nothing can harm you. So what's the first rule that I teach in everything? The first rule is you got to drop all the fear. Any teaching, any belief, any practice that has any fear associated with it, for instance, like most of the teachings about the Matrix. Most of the Matrix teachings start from the assumption that you're trapped and limited and that beings more powerful than you are forcing you to reincarnate. That all comes from fear. And as long as you operate from that, that's what you'll experience. When you let go of that, you find out you're the one that is infinite and has all the power, and then nothing can harm you. So start from a proper understanding. Everything is inside of you. Carolyn Bolvin, question, what do you think about marijuana? So I've already done a video on that. Again, let me encourage you, go on to my channel, go to my channel page, and below where it has the menu there, you can click on the little magnifying glass and type in whatever you want, and you will see. I have a video, at least more than one on that go on for hours. So you can find out not just my opinion, but the actual energetic reality of what that plant does. It's now legal in Canada. You might have to talk about it, but I never heard it if you don't know. So I'm not going to take all that time to repeat myself. I've made a whole other thing. If you want to, like I said, now you know how to go and watch that video. Mass Juicy asks, have I taken this is him, a quote, have I taken DMT before? I don't know, have you? Why are you asking me what you've done? You know, why are you asking me? Are you asking me if I have? Well, we'll get into that a little bit later. Enter the rune wheel. Question. When doing mantra ritual, can one see Chamundi as a beautiful mother in the same way as people see Mother Hela as either corpse or beautiful mother? Yeah. I don't know why you're asking me. Are you saying that you see her that way? Yes, the answer is yes. Chills 34 question. Michael, I apologize if you explained this, but just coming into the chat, what are the main differences on Immortal Course and the Immortality Course? The Immortality Course contains the Immortal Course within it. If you go to both those pages, you'll see. So go to both of those. This is a package I've just put together, which includes, the reason why it's the Immortality package is because it has within it the Immortal Course. But it also has things you need to know about the Matrix. And again, I've got a video on there that explains it. So that tells me you haven't watched the video on the page. Go and check it out. Lekia Patria, I meant I'll probably have to invest some money and plan to grow it. What are you talking about? Who told you that? I didn't tell you that. I didn't tell you you had to invest any money. Did I say that anywhere? You're not understanding how this works. So, Alekia, you haven't read my books, right? You haven't worked with me personally, right? You haven't seen my video teachings on how to find your perfect career, right? If you had, you would know that you're operating from a false assumption. So let me repeat myself again. Everything is built on assumption. Assumption is a fancy word for belief, but it means like the base belief. An assumption, a base assumption for getting up and walking across the room is the belief in gravity. If you don't believe in gravity, you're going to be too afraid to stand up and try and walk across the room. But if you accept the idea that the law of gravity is there and will hold your feet to the floor, that you can push against the floor to stand up, that assumption allows you to get up and walk across the room. So you are operating from the assumption that you have to invest money in order to gain it. You're not understanding manifestation. You're not understanding how it works. And again, listen to what I say. What do I say over and over again? People who follow my direction to the letter and practice what I teach them to do consistently, their lives change. So you're operating already from, I already know, you're operating from a place of fear. Because you're already saying, but I won't be able to make money unless I invest. And I don't have money to invest. And then you're trapped in this cycle of, I don't have the money to invest. How am I going to make that if I don't invest? Who said anything about investing? I never said anything about that. So you need to be watching more and more my videos about manifestation. Are you subscribed to the Manifestation Mastery course? Go to thunderwizard.com, scroll down on the side, you'll see Manifestation Mastery course. Click on that. Again, if you guys are coming onto my channel and the only thing you're doing is watching my Q&As or watching some of my videos and you're not doing the work, you're not going to get a whole lot out of the channel. You're getting like 2%. The best way to get things out of these Q&As is to read the books, to do the practices, Whether you got it off the free channel or whether you bought one of the teaching video series, I don't care. But you got to do the work. If you don't do the work, you won't have a basis of understanding. Our assumptions don't connect, which is why you don't understand what I'm saying. Because you haven't absorbed the basic assumption, which I teach all over, which is you must operate from a place of fearlessness, and you must operate from a place of trusting that the universe will provide all of your needs. You already are telling me you don't believe the universe is designed to give you all of your needs, because you're saying, well, I'm going to have to invest. See what I mean? You're already off base. And the thing about assumptions is, if you have a wrong assumption, like right now, your assumption is I won't be able to make money unless I invest. That's a false assumption right there. But every belief that every conclusion that you come to after you've had that assumption of I need to invest, is going to be based on that. So if the assumption is wrong, every other conclusion is going to be wrong. So you got to start from the beginning. Okay, so going back to your question, you asked, will the Fehu ritual work if I have very less capital to invest? Again, see what I mean? I mean, I'll probably have to invest some money. Where? To who? I mean, is there anything in that video that talks about going and investing in the stock market or anything? No! 2 things you need to make it in this world: listen and pay attention. Listen and put effort is what I meant to say, but that includes paying attention. All right. What else? Evan Price, question: does your Skype meeting still go by Pacific time? Why are you asking me that? If you've gone to my appointment page, you will see, guess what? Big thing in red script telling you what is there. So since you've already been there, I know you already made an appointment. Did you pay attention? What does it say on that page? Why are you asking me this? You should already know this question. All right. See, so listen, this is, I'm being a pain in the rear end to people, but this is very important when it comes to learning and growing. You have to be self-sufficient. Everything that I've learned has come from me choosing to investigate and learn. And in order to learn when you're investigating, I'm trying to teach you how to learn from the universe. You have to pay attention. You have to put effort into it. And you have to listen. So that's why I'm being such a pain in the rear end. That's why I don't, when people say, and they ask me a question of something I've already talked about, I encourage them to go and put the effort into learning it themselves. Well, why can't you just tell me now? Because the act of actually putting effort into something changes your ability to know how to function in this world and how to make progress on a spiritual level. All right. This is my organic kombucha cola. In case if anybody thinks I'm drinking a beer or something, I'm not. Excuse me. I don't see any more questions, so you know what happens when there aren't any questions. I sell you stuff. So somebody asked about the immortal... crap, that's the wrong link. I don't want that link. I wasn't paying attention. I did not. Let me see. Is that the one? Is that the one? That's the one I want. Immortality.thunderwizard.com. Okay, now I feel stupid. I wasn't paying attention. That's true. I came from a nap just before this. I went to the gym last night and I lifted very hard and I've been tired all day. So then when I'm doing this, when I came here to do this afternoon, I wasn't quite paying attention to what I was doing. All right, this is what I want to talk to you about. Okay, so what I want to talk to you about right now is a very special package that I've put together, which I think is long overdue. I've been getting a lot of questions about reincarnation. And I've been getting a lot of questions about immortality and health and youth, and what are some of the ways that you can, stay young, stay healthy, stay strong. So, if you know, there's already a service that you can get to by going to immortal.thunderwizard.com, and that is the Becoming an Immortal Phase 1 teaching series, which I teach you a very ancient, esoteric Taoist meditation from Taoist master wizards who are known for living very long lives. And if you've trained in any of these, you know that there are legends of these Taoist masters who have actually become immortals. And what an immortal is that through their spiritual practice, through their energy work, they raise the vibration of their cells up to a certain level that they phase out of three-dimensional existence and they live in multiple dimensions. They're still here, they're still around, but you can't see them. But it's because they have chosen to do this kind of work to become, in the Taoist understanding, to become a god, to become an immortal. So as I said, there's two ways to achieve freedom from reincarnation. One is to achieve all of your desires over multiple lifetimes, and then you never have to come back and you move on to the next phase. The other is to raise the vibrational level of the energy in your organs and in your cells so that you phase out of existence and become what is known as an immortal. And that way you hold on to your awareness and you don't have to forget who you are and come back and relearn everything. So that was the Taoist mindset. The Taoist mindset is, let's do this right once so that we don't have to keep coming back and remembering who we are. And they did that through energy work. Now, the benefits of that, the benefits of doing the immortality meditation is that your cells start to vibrate on a higher level. The energy in the organs and the cells start to vibrate on a higher level, and you end up reversing your aging. So in this package, let me tell you what is in this package. I guess before that, let me just tell you, I swear to you I'm telling you the truth. Last night, again, I was with a very beautiful young woman who was, I believe she was 22, and I was spending some time with her. And she wanted to know my age, and she said, I want to guess your age. Because I had told her some of the things that I had done, and she said, wow, you've done a lot of stuff. She says, I want to guess your age. And I said, please, I'd love to hear that. So she looked at me and she scrutinized my face and touched my body and my arms. And then she said, I think you're 45. And I said, thank you. That's very kind of you. I'm actually 56. She said, really? Wow. I was actually trying to go older than what I thought just to be safe. But she says, you could pass for 40 if you want, especially if you dyed your gray hairs. People wouldn't know how old you were. And I said, thank you. That makes me feel very good. I do feel good. I do feel healthy. So I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm telling you that that is the result of the practices that I've done throughout my life. Now, I've been doing it since I was in my late 20s. But I've learned that there are multiple factors involved. You have to have the right understanding of how the matrix works so that you can get the matrix to give you what you want. You have to understand how the matrix works. You also understand emotionally and psychologically how to interact with life. A lot of people are under stress. They take themselves too seriously. They take other people too seriously. And that has to do partly with you don't know how the matrix functions, and so you feel like you're a victim and all those kinds of things. But the other aspect is not knowing how to do the energy work and the meditations that keep your body young. You have to have all of them. So let me tell you what is in this package. So what we have in this package is you're going to have access to a package that already exists, which is called the 4 Tools to Exit the Matrix. In this package, the first teaching series is called Find Your Perfect Career. Now I call it Find Your Perfect Career because most people are interested in money and most people want to know what they can do to make all the money that they want. So I named it that. But the reality is that I have discovered is that when you are operating in unison with your internal spiritual purpose, you know how to manipulate the matrix to give you everything that you want. And when that happens, you end up in this really wonderful dynamic where the universe pays you money to be your authentic self. I don't work. I don't have a job. Right now I'm in Australia. I'm living in a 3-bedroom house that I'm renting, and I'm right across the beach from beautiful tropical beaches and beautiful women walking up and down in bikinis, and I surf all day. And then I come and I do some videos and I talk to my friends on the phone and I help them. I get paid to do that. It's something I would do anyway. It's my perfect life. It's my fantasy life. I've come to find out that that's how the universe works. But you first have to know what your fantasy life is. That you will find at Find Your Perfect Career. That in and of itself will get rid of tons of stress, which creates toxins, which age you and gives you disease. Once you get rid of that, it's a lot easier to be healthy and happy. Okay? The next thing in the 4 tools to exit the matrix is the Celestial Qigong. This is my oldest teaching series. I've been selling it for over 10 years. And it is by far the most powerful energy practice I've ever encountered. It connects you to the Ascended Masters, and it works to reverse aging. It works to bring you higher consciousness. It gives you tremendous spiritual connections, shamanic experiences. People tell me that they've done it and they've traveled outside their body and the blue light beings came to them. And I don't promise that. I just gave people this really great Qigong practice that I've learned and deepened my knowledge with. They've had that experience. So you get the Celestial Qigong as well. Then you get the 5 rules to master the matrix. That's absolutely crucial. You must understand who you are and your relationship to the matrix. Most people don't. Most people think that they're trapped in the matrix. That's only if you don't understand who you are and how the matrix responds to you. Once you understand the rules of how the matrix works, it obeys you because you know exactly what levers to pull to make it do what you want. Okay, and then I give you a link to go to the thunderwizard.com subscription page if you want to be a part of that and learn the Manifestation Mastery course and the Mastery of Shamanism. So that, all of that, and even a hell of a lot more than that is in the 4 tools to exit the matrix package. On top of that, I have also added the Becoming an Immortal Phase 1 teaching series where I teach you this ancient meditation from Taoist masters. I teach you a special mudra. I teach you, anyway, I won't give it all here now because there's a lot of teaching in it. And I explain to you the science and understanding from the Taoist wizard mastery understanding of how to escape reincarnation by becoming an immortal. It's very simple, and this is phase 1. There's 3 phases to it, and when enough people get through phase 1, I'll teach phase 2 and phase 3. Right now, because I am paying off my taxes, I have slashed my prices on everything. So normally, if you were to get the normal price after the savings, these 2 packages would cost you $639. That's after all the savings. I've slashed another $400 off of that, and now it's $239 for all the things that I just mentioned. So go ahead and go to immortality.thunderwizard.com, and you can purchase that slashed price package right here and right now. And you know, maybe this is your window. I'm telling you, the benefits of all this are you get to learn how to live in this world and get paid just to be yourself. You learn how to reduce all of the stress, all of the craziness of your false beliefs about who you are and what the universe is, and all the stress that goes along with that. Once you relieve all the stress of that, you already put yourself in a position to be healthier and happier. Then when you combine the energy work of both the Celestial Qigong and the Immortal Phase 1 package, and you do those practices, then you start to reverse the aging process within the cells of the body, within the organs of the body. And then like me, when you're, 60 is right around the corner for me, women, if you're a guy, women half your age will comment about how young you look. And at the same time, they'll say, but you're so mature and so wise. It's the best of both worlds. I'm telling you, man, this is the best of both worlds for me now. And I'm only telling you this because people are bringing it to my attention. And since people are asking me about reincarnation and how to avoid the pain of reincarnation, you have to understand that there's more to it than that. I'm going to talk about that in some other videos, but for this right now, I just want to introduce you to this new package, the Immortality package, immortality.thunderwizard.com. Save $400 off the already slashed prices, and for $239 you get, what would probably be over $1,000 worth of teachings in one little package. Okay, so this is for a limited time only. Take advantage of it now, because once I've paid my taxes off, I'm going to go everything back to their normal prices. All right? Thanks, my friends. I will see you very soon. All right, I'm back. What was that I was saying about paying attention? Oh, yeah. All right, so let's see if there's any more questions here, because then, if there isn't, I'm going to start talking about how to release the chemicals within the brain that external methods do forcefully, which end up working against you and actually making the process more challenging and more difficult. All right. Riho Rasta question. I am doing the Holetir meditation. So if you go onto my site, if you see what he's written here, you could type that in and it should come up. Not on my site, on my YouTube channel page. Remember how I told you how to do that? Search on my YouTube channel page, you'll know what he's talking about. In this order. The Holetir meditation in this order: southeast, south, southwest, east, west, northeast, north, northwest. Center. I'm not understanding what you're asking me. Is that something that I indicated to do in the meditation? I don't remember. So, I mean, there's 9, if you're doing the Holetir meditation, the heaven-earth meditation, then you're doing 9 breaths of that. So you've only listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, you've listed all 9. I mean, is there a version where I tell you to do it in a certain order? I don't understand why you're asking that. Why are you doing it in that order? Is that because of your ritual that I've given you? I mean, looking at it, because you say, could you tell me what it does change if I do all 9 world directions practices in this order? Look, if you're doing that because your instinct is telling you to do that, and it's not something that I've taught, then you're gonna know better than I do what it does. So I don't know why you're doing it in that order. I don't remember. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I've taught, and sometimes I've had inspirations that I go, whoa, I taught that. I mean, I did that just recently looking at something. Wow, that's really cool. I came up with that. So if I came up with that, that's one thing. But if you're making that up, asking me about it isn't going to serve you, because that's your experiment. So you should be telling us whether it works or not. Okay? All right. So I don't see any more questions here, so we're going to start talking about what happens when you do these exercises. So bear in mind, as I've said before, we're talking thousands of years ago. The Vedics and the Taoists, who in my experience have the highest level of expertise when it comes to dealing with using energy in meditations, what we would call internal energy work. These are the two cultural masters that have been able to go in and treat it like a science and know how to take energy into the brain and do various different things. Both of them at one time used to use power plants for their practices. The Vedics used to use soma, which had a bunch of different things in it. Power plants and things like that mixed together, put under the moonlight at certain times and chanted mantras over. And the priests would drink it and it would put them into an altered state of consciousness, and they would then channel Indra, and they would, that's where the Vedas came from. They stopped doing that. In fact, you can't find somebody who knows what the soma is. People guess, but they don't know what it is. And even if they did, even if they had all the different plants and herbs, they still wouldn't know what the spiritual process was for, in terms of how to put it together and pray to so and so and chant this mantra and do all that. So they gave that up. They gave it up because they started creating what we now know of as Kundalini Yoga, where you can sit and meditate and mantras and all that, and you climb all up inside the passages of the brain and you release all the chemicals from within the brain, and people have out-of-body experiences and all that other stuff. The Taoists were the same. They, way back when, used to use power plants to achieve that state. They stopped doing that for the same reason, because they started coming up with what they call Negong, which means internal work, which has to do with energy work, qigong, meditation, and moving the energy around in the different, pathways in the body, and going inside the brain and opening up all the cavities in the brain and stimulating all the things. And those guys, I know from personal experience, those guys are unparalleled in their power. In their power to leave the body, to go out and accomplish things and come back, they're unparalleled. And the true masters will never do anything to externally stimulate the body. They won't do it. And I can tell from personal experience, I can tell you that when you have a real practice that is able to give you high-level energy and will move through all of the different meridian systems in the body and up into the brain and do all kinds of things, that the experience you have is far greater than any externally stimulated experience. Far greater. And in fact, once you've had that a few times, you would never go back to anything that was an external stimulation. You would never do that. Because you would know immediately, oh my God, that is so much worse. That is just not even close. So as if you've never driven a car and somebody gives you, one of those old VW bugs, and that's all that you've ever driven, you're going to be like, this is the greatest thing in the world, because you can drive down freeways. And then if you get out of that VW bug and you get inside of pick one, a Maserati, you're like, holy crap, I'm never getting in that VW ever again. What a waste of time that was. That's the difference between an externally stimulated release of the DMT and other chemicals in the brain and doing it, what did I say? The difference between an externally stimulated experience and one that's created internally. There's also no negative side effects. Not only do you not have negative side effects, you have positive side effects. You just listened to me talk about it. I'm absolutely certain it was the 6.5 years that I was celibate doing these high-level energy practices that has given me a lot of the benefits you already heard me just talk about. I'm certain that's the reason why. Seriously. I mean, anyway, I don't want to repeat myself. So. This is the chemical that is necessary, the DMT. It is created naturally within the brain all the time. You just have to learn how to get it to create on its own. Whenever you introduce something externally, the brain is monitoring these chemicals all the time. It says, oh, shut down production of that, shut down production of that, whenever you bring it into your body. So you want to train the brain to create it on its own, and that can only be done through discipline and practice. and you've got to have a practice that actually works. Then the brain starts to do it on its own. And then you can do things like, like I do when I'm waking up in the morning. I can choose to go in and out of that shamanic state at will. If I do the Hool breath, which I've already shown you what that is, if I do that and do the special breath technique associated with that, I'm immediately gone. Now that's not just me. Anybody who does that, that will happen. Sometimes immediately. It might take a little while, but more often than not, it happens immediately. Okay? All right. Let's see if there are any questions here. Again, I'm only interested in your questions. I'm not interested in any cute little comments that you have, Andrew Church. I'm only interested in your question. Alekia Patra, question. Do you think YouTube is a good job to earn? So, Alekia, why are you asking me this? Why are you asking me that? It sounds like you need a session with me. So go to career.thunderwizard.com, scroll to the bottom, and purchase a career consultation with me. You keep asking me all these questions. Do you honestly think that I'm going to be able to answer that question and give it what it deserves? The question is YouTube a good job for you? I don't know. I need to talk to you and find that out. Again, you're not understanding how it works. You're not understand. Go back and watch the video, the free video that I did about how to manifest, not earn. I didn't say earn $100,000. I'm not trying to get you involved in my multi-level marketing scheme. I'm not trying to get you connected to my business opportunity. I'm teaching you a ritual so that you can manifest it. I didn't say go earn it, manifest it. You're not getting the basic point of it. Okay. All right, so the pineal and the pituitary gland, these are the master glands of the body. And these are the glands that are stimulated when you do high-level energy work, whether it be Kundalini Yoga, whether it's mantra, whether it's Negong, which means internal work, which is sitting down and meditating and sending the energy certain ways, whether it's Qigong. You can go onto my external channel and look for Qigong. Again, go to my channel page and below where the magnifying glass is, type in Qigong, Qigong. You can have no shortage of them. Any one of those practices, if you do it daily for the rest of your life, will immediately start to have the brain release those chemicals. Now let me be clear about that. I got into this because I wanted to have a stimulation. I wanted to basically get high without doing any, external chemicals. That's the reason I did it. That's what got me into it. I started seeking out the more high level, the intense stuff because I liked the effect that it gave me. That's what gave me the impetus to put all that effort into it, so much so that, being who I am, I've got an extremely high libido that, I decided to go celibate for 6.5 years because the benefits and the experience that I was getting from doing this high-level energy work, which meant the release of all these chemicals, including DMT, in my brain, was so amazing. I was willing to, sacrifice, something that I normally would never even consider, sacrificing in my life. So if you're doing this, if you're doing shamanic work because you like the way it feels, if you like the idea of escaping, I was giving people a hard time by saying, if your only motivation is to escape, but the truth is that you can take that power and that desire and use it to your benefit. The weak way is to do it, is to take the lazy way out, which is to have it done externally. Somebody asked me earlier, have I ever taken a certain chemical? And the question is, what difference does it make? That chemical is already And I'm not going to say whether I have or I haven't. That chemical already exists in my body. I can tell you this, I've had the equivalent of far more than whatever people think they're doing when they internally ingest something. The other thing is that when you do it from within, when you do a practice that from your own work using life force energy with technique and with breath and other things starts to stimulate the brain to release those chemicals on its own, your experiences are going to be real. Whereas if you go to some whatever and take it externally, you run the risk, I would say 95% risk, that what you're going to experience is just going to be nonsense. It's just going to be your own unconscious garbage that you're floating around in. And so while you may have had an experience, while you might have escaped, it hasn't brought you any closer to making your life better. The other thing is that when you have a real experience, your life gets better, meaning you make more money, you become more healthy, you become more happy, your relationships with other people get better, your life gets better. And the reason for that is because true shamanic journeying and experiences allows you to create your reality, because the matrix that we live in is your own creation. If you're living in poverty, illness, craziness, if you're disconnected from your life, if you're unhealthy, that is a sign that you have lost ability to manifest and create your reality. True shamanism, true shamanic journeys, true spiritual work are going to make you stronger in the physical realm to be able to create your reality. Have I made my point? Okay? So understanding that, you have to drop the assumption that this is an evil place. This is one of the greatest tragedies of Gnosticism. Lots of people like to bag, like I do, bag on Christianity and say how horrible Christianity is. But then they'll talk about the true Christianity and they'll talk about Gnosticism. But Gnosticism is nothing other than dualism. It's escapism. It says that this earth is horrible and evil, and what's above and ethereal is good. And what it means is they're saying, get out of the physical and connect, in other words, forget about this physical life. And that completely goes against the reality that you've created this physical world so that your soul, which is already ethereal, can come down and play in physical reality. So drop any beliefs that this physical reality is bad, and by escaping to something more ethereal, you're getting to something more real. No, it doesn't matter whether you are in this world or if you are in another world. Every single world that exists has the same degree of possibility for nonsense. Your ego, your fears, all of that will go with you. And so people think they're spiritual because they've had an out-of-body experience. Big deal. If you're crazy here, you're going to be crazy there. You take everything with you. So there is no dimension that is more or less real than any other. It's just varying levels of density. But it's still all real. All of it is real. What you experience here is real. What you experience out there is real. The question is whether or not you can be in this version of reality and be completely disconnected from truth and from reality, and you can be in another ethereal world and be just as disconnected from truth and reality there. Okay, if you're an idiot here, you'll be an idiot there. Make sense? I think I saw a question. Question: during meditation, sometimes I feel like I have a huge head and a tiny little body. Does that mean anything? Is that after you've ingested THC? Because that's what THC does. THC, there's at the bottom of the spine, there's a little regulator. You probably heard me talk about it. When you ingest THC, that little, like an aperture, opens up like this. It takes all of your aura, the life force energy that your liver has put out into your aura, and sucks it up the spinal column into the brain. And that's why you feel like you have this light head. So whether or not that is a result of THC, it tells me that you've ingested a lot of THC in your life, yes? So those things are there. You need to be doing the Hool breath. You need to be doing energy work that's going to ground you. You need to heal your energy system. If that's what's happening every time you meditate, that's not a very good sign, from my perspective. I could be wrong, but based on what you've just told me, that's what that tells me. Rio asked a question: is it okay to do the spell of the 9 knots every day? It's okay, but why? What you want to do every day is you want to do your Qigong every day. You want to do your mantra ritual every day. If you have a practice like yoga or Tai Chi or something like that, you want to do that every day. The spell of the 9 knots is meant to be done with a lot of intention at one time. It's like, going to the doctor to get an operation. You don't go get an operation every day. An operation is to take care of a very serious issue. So you do the spell of the 9 knots that way. Having said that, you can, but it tells me, your questions are giving me the feeling that you're thinking about it too hard and you're trying too hard. It's like it shows a lack of belief. It shows a fear. I'm going to do it every day. Again, I don't know what would happen if you did it every day. Maybe it would work, but my experience is of you do it once and then step back and let it do its thing. Okay? Hope I answered your question there. All right. So, you know what happens if you don't have questions, right? If you don't have questions, I got to sell you stuff. So let me talk to you, since we're talking about life force energy, let me talk to you about the most powerful energy practice that I know of that can be taught publicly on video. Anything else that's more powerful, you have to do it in person, otherwise you can blow out some circuits. It can be very damaging. First, if I can find it. Okay, so, and this, by the way, is part of this package, which is now, you can see, the link will be there. You can go look at the link and you'll see the difference in price. I've just slashed it. I'm telling you, take advantage of this while you can, because the savings that you're getting all across the board from me, once I've got my taxes paid off, everything's going back up to normal prices. So anyway, take a look at this. Hi, I'm Michael Denny of SpiritTao.com, and this is Celestial Negung Part 1. Celestial Negung means that this is power that is descending from heaven. And the idea is that we are all microcosms of the entire universe. You are the entire universe, and everything around you is simply the projection. You are looking within yourself. So when you look up into the stars at night, you're actually looking deep within your own body. When you look at the sun, the moon, the trees, the flowers, you're looking within yourself. This is Negung. And so what we're doing is we're simply releasing that infinity from within us. You are tapping into and releasing the power that is within our own body, our own cells, our own organs. So one of the reasons that I'm making this DVD is in the hope that the essence and the spirit of the teaching of the Shang Qing arts can be taught to the world at large, and it is my hope that the core essence of what the Shang Qing tradition is will continue to live and grow and evolve. As we move on into the Aquarian age, everything is changing. I don't need to tell you that. The entire world is changing, and what we are seeing now is that if people hold on to external things, they are very challenged in life. And those who are making the transition into the next phase that we are moving into in the world as we approach 2012, those who look within and find their source of strength from within. Those are the people who are getting the most out of life and will make the transition into the next phase of evolution most comfortably. It is my belief that the Shang-Qing tradition is one method whereby human beings can evolve into the next level of being in the most comfortable fashion and be able to take advantage of the rapid, energetic, mental, and spiritual changes that are going on in the world today. Hello. All right, I'm back now. All right, so let's see. What am I doing here? I don't need to do anything. All right, so let's see if we have any questions. Hopefully, I wasn't off there for too long. Hang on one second. Where was I? I am going right here. All right. Jameson Colliday, question. Could you discuss techniques or a Teutonic perspective on self-forgiveness, self-love? A lot of things I understand intellectually and even find saying to others, but the feeling isn't there. Wow. All right. So, I'm asking about a Teutonic perspective. For those of you who don't know what that means, I am descended from Norse people. So, in fact, my last name, Denny, means Danish. It means that I'm descended from Vikings who invaded England, and they were called the Danes. So that's where my name Denny comes from. Those are my ancestors. And did they have a belief in self-forgiveness and self-love? You have to understand that in order to have the belief in self-love or self-forgiveness, you first have to be judging yourself. My ancestors, the Teutonic perspective, the pre-Christian perspective was that there's no need to forgive yourself because you haven't done anything wrong. The Christian perspective is that the moment that you're born, from the moment that you're born, you are sinful and evil and deserving of eternal punishment. So this whole idea of forgiveness is something that just because you're just born, you need to be forgiven. So, my ancestors didn't think that way. They believed that life was something to be conquered, and your pride, that you should seek to increase your pride. You should seek to increase yourself, that it was actually a good sign that you had self-confidence and you went around and you bragged about yourself, how great you were, how powerful you were. Now, you had to back it up, so you didn't go and brag about something you couldn't back up, but then that just motivated you to go out and just take from life. Go create your life and take it. This is one of the things I'm trying to teach. The whole idea of those who die in battle go to Valhalla. The battle is being willing to die for what gives you the greatest joy. Being willing to die to get what you want out of life. Those people who die going after what they truly want and are willing to sacrifice anything to get what they want, they achieve enlightenment. They go to Valhalla. This is Valhalla. So the Teutonic perspective is, why do you need to forgive yourself? You haven't done anything. You're this amazing, you're Man, M-A-N-N. You are the reflection of the eternal soul of the universe. You are the divine human mind in flesh. You're an amazing creature. What is there to, the biggest sin for my ancestors was to betray your own power, to make a vow and break it. Every time you speak a vow, like if you say I'm going to do this for you or do that for you, that once you've said it and put it into the world that's been recorded in the fabric of the universe, your essence now, it's on record. You've put your breath, your life force into that. If you break that vow, you're saying you don't exist. So that goes back to, living life in such a way to celebrate your existence. So, I don't know what else to tell you. You're telling me that there's like a schism in terms of your personal experience of it. You don't have this experience of self-love, but you tell others about it. Well, that's fine, because the way to prove that you believe something is to take action towards it. So you don't have to feel self-love. You can feel self-guilt or shame, and be aware of all those things. We've talked about this before, you and I. Be aware of all those things, but take action as though you are full of self-love. If you were full of self-love, how would you act? Act in that way, and then what ends up happening is that you get the benefits of it. It'll take time, but it's like, you're detoxing from a toxic state of mind, and so it'll take a while for that. Anyway, I hope I answered your question. Sabrina Smith, question: would certain breath work help a woman give birth? So, are you new to my channel, Sabrina? If you are, welcome. One of the things that I encourage people to do is to ask me questions about things that I teach. I have never once, to my knowledge, taught anything about how a woman should give birth. I have zero experience in that, and I don't have any knowledge about it. So it would be really irresponsible of me to answer that question in any fashion. So I won't even touch it. And then she says, let me clarify my previous question. Would it help with getting past physical pain? Again, I'd have to have some knowledge or some experience, and for me to even start guessing, even if I might be right, is really irresponsible of me, so I'm not going to go there. Rio Rasta question: have you tried the shamanic practice of remote viewing? Yes, I have. How would you recommend one to train this ability? I wouldn't. I can only tell you my experience, and I don't talk about anything I don't have experience in. I have practiced it and experimented with it, and I didn't get very far with it. Now, maybe there are people out there that can. I've seen a lot of predictions and things that have come from people who have claimed to have gotten information from remote viewing that was absolute, complete, utter nonsense. So that tells me that if it is a valuable practice, which it might be, then there's a lot of possibility for people to make all kinds of mistakes and impose their own craziness on it. Now listen, I do rune readings, I do divination myself. Whenever I do divination for myself, I almost never take any of the, what's on there, what the cards say literally, because my own lower self has its own agenda, and your lower self is important. Your lower self is where the information comes from. So if you're not a clean vessel, then the lower self is going to impose whatever is going on, whether it's your own fantasies, your own fears, your own agendas. So my experience of remote viewing is that it is rife with possibilities for imposing your own garbage onto it. All right, does that answer your question? So, any other questions? No? All right. So, what have we talked about? So, you've heard me talk about the immortality.thunderwizard.com. And that practice will, I can guarantee you this, that practice will start to release the DMT within the brain. If you have done things that have caused the brain to have difficulty to release DMT, like if you've done a lot of external methods, to force that, it's like, the muscles in there have begun to atrophy. So you got to understand this about doing external methods. You have an experience, like I said, the experience is most likely going to be a false experience, more than likely. But you also do tremendous damage to the energy body. You do tremendous damage to the nervous system and the organs of the body. And so it takes a long time for the body to recover. But the biggest damage is that the pineal and the pituitary start to atrophy because they don't have to do anything. So it's like any muscle. You got to work it. You got to work it to get it big. Otherwise, it just starts to atrophy. You don't want these things in your brain to atrophy. That would be bad for you. Come on, what's wrong with you? So these exercises here, I'm laughing at myself internally. These exercises here are guaranteed to get the pineal and the pituitary to start flexing on their own. And once they start moving on their own, you're going to see your meditations, your astral travel, and I mean that. This is the kind of stuff that gives you real ability to astral travel. That's been my experience. Real ability to have stuff so much so that I've gotten to the point now where I don't want it. I want to stay here. In fact, there's a lot of the practices that I've cut back on because I want to stay here and I want to enjoy my physical body. It's one of the reasons I lift, is because it keeps me in my body, because I want to stay in my body and enjoy it. I just saw a question come up. Jameson Colliday, question: when struggling with that schism, I guess I'm curious about how I can be accountable to myself without being harsh or unloving when I fail to take contrary action growing out of victim mentality. So it's like you beat yourself up no matter what you do. If you take action towards your greatest joy, there's a part of you that's going to beat you up because you've been trained that way. And then when you're not perfect and you don't do it according to whatever standards you think you're supposed to have, you beat yourself up over that. So remember, I'm sure I've said this, this is a very good phrase, progress, not perfection. So the only thing that you have to do is, if you've never done it, you've done it once, you've now progressed. And it's okay not to be perfect. We're talking about self-love. Again, what would you say to somebody else? One thing you can do is ask these questions and then imagine somebody else asking you those questions. What would you say? I am pretty sure that you would be very kind and you would be very loving and you would be very patient and tolerant. So again, act as if. Treat yourself that way. One of the things that I do is, especially like if I get hurt, if I get angry, if I get disappointed, and I start having a lot of feelings like that, like intense feelings, I will sit down and I'll close my eyes and I'll imagine a little 4-year-old version of myself. And if I'm angry, and he wants to get angry, I'll let him get angry. If he wants to cry, I'll let him cry. And I'll tell him, I'm really sorry, Mike. I'm really sorry that you didn't get what you wanted. You deserved that, and it's really sad. If you're doing this, you put a little version of Jameson in front of you and say, hey, buddy, you don't have to be so hard on yourself. I love you. I know that they've been hard on you, but I'll love you. I'll take care of you. What ends up happening is you start training yourself to parent yourself, which is what's supposed to happen normally in a normal childhood, a healthy childhood, is that the parents teach the kids to parent themselves so that when they become adults, they can go off in the world and they can have that interaction with themselves instinctively. Anyway, when I failed to take contrary action growing up, you're just being really too hard on yourself. That's all. Just give yourself lots of space. Again, a little kid, if he does anything towards what he wants, you clap. You don't say you should have done better. Why didn't you do more? Yeah, that was a nice picture, but look, you're coloring outside of the lines. What the hell's wrong with you? We don't do that. We take the really, the little drawing that nobody can understand what this is, and we put it up on the refrigerator. And we celebrate it. He did something. That's all that matters. All that matters is that you do something. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to, you know what I mean? Just give yourself a break. You deserve it. All right, so I'm getting ready to shut down here for the day. So I am going to once again tell you how it is in your best interest to take advantage of all of the products that I'm giving, because I got to pay taxes. And so my goal is to try and get 10 purchases a day on all of these things until I have enough money to pay off my taxes. So if you want to help me with that, you can go to courses.thunderwizard.com, and here's why. It's tax time. What that means for you is 50% special on all of my products and services that you get through this courses.thunderwizard.com link, except for books and DVDs, which are Amazon and the Patreon subscription. Everything else, I have reduced prices by sometimes 2/3. And that is because even though the Thunder Wizard is a very accomplished spiritual practitioner and teacher, he is an idiot when it comes to accounting. And so I have this huge tax bill that I have to pay, and I need money to pay it. So if you want to keep me off the streets, and if there's something that you've wanted that you've been either saving up for or waiting for a special, now is the time. You can clean up. So if you go to courses.thunderwizard.com, you're going to see all of my products and services. And on there, you're going to see a bunch of them will have a discount attached to them. Now, just because it doesn't say 50% discount on the link, don't let that stop you from going to the link and checking it out. I'm going to walk through all of the ones that I know of. So first off, we have the Becoming an Immortal video series. Now, this is something that I made a while ago because people were wanting to know about an esoteric Taoist spiritual practice called the Method of Holding the Three Ones, which allows you to become an immortal. Now, from the Taoist perspective, an immortal doesn't mean that you live forever in this body or that you achieve enlightenment. It means that you raise your energy vibration in your body and all the cells of your body to such a degree that you phase out of existence and you become a god. For them, that was one way that they could achieve enlightenment, because then you don't have to be reincarnated. You can remember who you are and what your past life was, and keep all of your memories, and you can become a god. That is the Becoming an Immortal series that you'll find on there. Second one, this one I get asked for this all the time. This is the 2-for-1 certification special. And that one, I give you 2 certifications for the Vedic astrology, the Thunder Wizard Vedic astrology, and the Thunder Wizard rune reading certification. Now, I can't even begin to tell you how many hundreds of hours of teaching are on these videos. And normally you would have to get them each separately. But now you can just pay for one and you get both certifications. When you become certified, which means that you've studied all the videos, you take a very simple test with me to let me know that you know the material, then you will become certified. You will become an official Thunder Wizard, either both Vedic astrologer and rune reader. You will get your own web page. I will put you on the pages for that, astrology.thunderwizard.com. You will be one of my astrologers. And for the runereadings.thunderwizard.com, you'll be one of my rune readers. You can use that page for yourself. You can go and advertise your business. You can, if you give me different links, I'll put links on your specific page. Just the service of putting up a page for you is worth the price of the certification. And so you've got that going on. We have the I've reduced the distance energy cleansing service that I did. Remember, I was giving it away, almost giving it away as I was introducing it. Then I raised the price significantly. I've dropped that down again, almost back to where it was in the beginning. The all of your Vedic astrology, I'm going back to I'm taking off like 70% of what I used to charge for my readings. You can get an astrological reading from me. Let's see, the 4 tools to exit the matrix. That is also still at a savings level. The 5 rules to master the matrix. I've cut prices on that. The career consultations. To get a career consultation from me, I have slashed the prices on those as well. All of those links for all of those services and those teachings can be found at courses.thunderwizard.com. So, even though, as I said, many of you have thanked me, your teachings have saved my life, I've learned a lot and all of that, and I enjoy all those compliments, and I think that I've come up with some pretty wonderful and innovative ways at looking at traditional spirituality. But as I said, when it comes to managing my money, I'm an idiot. And so for that reason, you get to save a bunch of money now. Now, as soon as I have enough money to pay my taxes, my prices are going to go back to where they normally are. So I can't guarantee you how long this special is going to last, but take advantage of it now. If there's something that you've wanted to learn from me, other than the apprenticeship or the books and DVDs you get on Amazon, almost everything else, the prices have been slashed significantly. So take advantage of them. Go to courses.thunderwizard.com, shop to your heart's content, and help me to pay my taxes. Thanks a lot. All right. This time I was paying attention. Did you see that? Do I want that? Nope. I want that. All right. So we've got one question over here. Riho Rasta says, question, can you sometimes see into the other person's life if they give you the permission? This has a similarity to remote viewing. Can you psychically go into somebody's life? Yeah. I mean, yeah, the reality is that we're all connected. There is a thing called the collective unconscious. We really are all connected. And the truth is that we know everything about everybody on an unconscious level. It's an illusion that we don't. So can you? Yeah, but the question is why? Why would you want to do that? I'm trying to figure out why you would want to do that. I used to work as a phone psychic, and the vast majority of questions that 95% of the people that called were women, and 99% of all the questions were, what is she thinking? What is he thinking? What is he doing right now? What does he want from this relationship? When is he going to leave his wife? You'd be surprised how many people are having affairs out there. It's just like, I would tell them whatever the runes told me, but I would say, at some point if they gave me the opportunity, say, why don't you just live your life? Who cares? Be happy within you. So yes, you can, but why? What does it benefit you to look into somebody else's life? I mean, unless you're stalking them, who cares? Again, I don't know the full breadth of your question. You're saying this has a similarity to remote viewing. Well, again, that's an assumption that remote viewing is a good science. I don't think it is. Maybe I'm wrong, but from what I've seen, I think it's like riding a pogo stick when you could be driving a Maserati. It's not. I haven't seen that it's really that accurate and reliable and all that other stuff. Those are my 2 cents. Take it for what it's worth. All right, so I don't see any more questions here, and so I'm going to give it a rest for today. I don't have any more questions. I have an interview tomorrow with another channel. Hopefully that will be helpful to boost up the channel views. As you can tell, I've put a lot more videos out lately, and it's because I've made the decision I really want this channel to go viral. So I'm putting all of my spare time and effort into getting this channel up to where I think it ought to be. So yeah, put your thoughts and intentions towards that as well, because when that happens, that means I'll be on more often. It'll give me more time and freedom and opportunity to talk about all the things I really want to talk about and to help people more. So that's what I'm working towards. All right, that's it for me. I will see you guys very soon.